Welcome to Junior Achievement. My name is Risa, and on behalf of JA, we'd like to welcome you as a volunteer into the classroom. Thank you for taking the time to teach students about work readiness, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. Today we are going to be looking at the JA Our Region program. We are going to explore the materials that you need, as well as looking at the activities that you will be teaching. First of all, you will notice that you should have two guides for the volunteers and teachers. One copy is for you as the volunteer, and the other copy is for your classroom teacher. A couple things that you'll notice in the guidebook is that the first part of the page is just some greetings from JA USA, and you will notice that around page 6 you will have a master list of materials. This is a list in which you can go to check to make sure that you have all the materials that you need. One great way to make sure you have the materials you need is to look at your materials. On the bottom, on the side, or on the back, you will notice a little footer that says what the material is called, as well as what session it is used for. One thing we find that works really well is if you split out all of your materials for each session and put them in manila envelopes. That way you are ready to go with the materials as you need them for each activity. A couple other pieces that you'll use throughout the program is the poster that you can hang up in the classroom, as well as your JA banner. The JA banner is a great way to provide a connection to you while you're not there. If you leave it up in between your visits, the students might see it and make connections while you're not in the classroom. So let's explore activity 1. The materials you will need for session 1 are your challenge posters, your key vocab term flashcards, your inventory trait cards, your eraselettes, and your table tents. As you begin session 1, be sure to take the time to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what it means to volunteer for Junior Achievement. Talk to the students about what your life experiences have been to really build that rapport with the students. Be sure to take a look at your guidebook. Know that this is yours to keep, so we want you to highlight it and to make it your own. And in this curriculum, we have some open box spaces that you can really think about some of your own experiences to share with the students. And so we want you to make sure to use this guidebook throughout your preparation and while you're in the classroom to make sure that you have a great experience in the classroom. As you begin your time with the students, you're going to talk a lot about various vocab, for example, entrepreneurship, innovation, invention. You can use your key term flashcards to help introduce this vocabulary, and there are also some great talking points that you will find in your guidebook. After you introduce the students to the concept of entrepreneurship, you're going to start with a little bit of an icebreak activity. And what that's going to be is to put these challenge posters around the room. So there are 4 challenge posters, and so if you can just hang these on each of the 4 classroom walls, what you're going to do is you're going to have the students think about various entrepreneurs and what category they might fall into. So you're going to ask your students to stand up, and you are going to use the entrepreneurs listed in your guidebook to talk to the students. So for example, you are going to tell them an entrepreneur name such as Tony Hawk, and you're going to ask the students to make their best guess as to what category they might fall into. You really want to talk to the students about the fact that they are probably not going to know them all, because you as the volunteer probably didn't know them all either, and your teacher probably is not going to know them either. So making your best guess is absolutely okay. So you want to give the students just a minute to go and actually walk to the poster that they feel that their entrepreneur falls under, and then you're going to talk to the students about why they thought that or that entrepreneur falls underneath that category. You are probably not going to have enough time to get through all the entrepreneurs, so be sure to take a look at the entrepreneurs and pick and choose the ones that you would like to highlight in your class. And notice on the bottom of the graph, you also have an area that you can add in some local entrepreneurs to your community. This is really important to try to keep it to your local community and to really highlight the entrepreneurs that you have. A great way to summarize this activity is to use the extra credit question of Brian Rickey. Brian created the eraselette for his daughter, who often lost her erasers. And so what you can do after this activity is to introduce the students to the eraselette, which is basically a bracelet and an eraser in one. These may become a distraction, so instead of handing them out at this point, you might want to ask the teacher if there's a better way to distribute them after you have left the session. You can also use the debriefing questions that are listed to help wrap up this conversation. We really want to highlight to the students that entrepreneurs learn as they go. They make mistakes, and that's the great way of using the Eraselet, is to remind them that they don't always be successful the very first time. Sometimes they make mistakes, but they learn from them and they move forward with them. The second part of today's session is to talk about the traits, and you are going to talk about traits using the inventory card. We want to really highlight that entrepreneurs have different qualities, but there are a lot of similar characteristics that they often have. So what we're going to do to wrap up the session today is to look at the trait inventory card. The students may or may not be familiar with what an inventory is, and so you can help them by just taking a quick inventory of the items in the classroom. That will help them understand what the inventory checklist kind of looks like. They are going to then take a personal inventory, and they are going to do so by using this card. There are various traits that we find common to most entrepreneurs. Again, you want to highlight the fact that not entrepreneurs are going to have all of these, but they are going to have some of them, and oftentimes they will work toward the ones they don't naturally acquire. Some of the vocabulary on this card can be a bit challenging, so one great idea is to walk through it and do it together as a whole class, or to kind of walk through it step by step. So to talk about what it means to be determined, and to have a student read a little bit about what that means, and then as a whole class have the students consider on their own if they have that trait or not. If they do, they can circle the true, I am determined, and if it's something that they need to work on, they can circle the second one, which says, I'll work hard to develop this trait. Whether you work on it through the classroom as a whole or whether you have the students work on it individually, you want to make sure to bring it all back together at the end and talk a little bit about it. Have the students highlight some of the traits that they feel that they have, and have them highlight a few of them that they can work on. Make it personal by talking a little bit about some of the traits you might need to work on, or even ask the teacher to get involved as well. In order to finish today's activity, you want to make sure to do a summary and review. One thing you want to make sure you highlight is that entrepreneurs don't always get things right the first time. It's okay to make mistakes. You always want to just continue to try and to continue to move forward. If you have time, a great thing to highlight might be the invention of the sticky notes and how that came to be, because it actually started as a mistake. You will find some supplemental information on our Program Resource Center found on jasd.org that you might be able to take a look at while you're in the classroom. Again, challenge the students to practice the skills they have not yet acquired, and just share some of those experiences that you've had and maybe ways in which you haven't done something right the first time and how you've been able to move forward from that. As you prepare to leave for the day, it's always a great idea to have the students collect their table tents and to leave them with the classroom teacher in the back of the classroom so they don't get lost in desks. Enjoy session 1!